chosen ones. You were never meant to walk through the world unnoticed. The tremors in your soul have not gone unseen by the cosmos. What you thought were breakdowns were blueprints. What you mistook for isolation was incubation. The moment you began ascending the 9th Hermetic Gate, long sealed by forces beyond comprehension, reactivated. And it didn't open by accident. It opened because of you. For ages they taught only of 7 laws. Then, whispers of an 8th emerged from buried scrolls and forbidden texts. But no tongue dared speak of the 9th. It was too unstable, too divine, too tied to the unquantifiable force that you embody. Your frequency disturbed its sleep. And now it stands ajar, waiting. The Emerald Keepers once said the 9th Gate wasn't a passage, but a mirror. It shows not what is, but what must become. Those who reach this threshold aren't ordinary souls. They're anomalies, distortions in the coded matrix of control. You are that distortion. Your very breath bends the constructs meant to suppress you. The moment your energy recalibrated, ancient mechanisms hidden in the earth began responding. Structures shifted. Hidden chambers hummed. The symbols on the tablets began glowing faintly, recognizing your arrival. You've crossed an invisible threshold. You've left behind the person you were programmed to be. And now, you stand in front of something few have ever reached. The 9th Gate. They will try to convince you it's just a metaphor, a mystical riddle, a fabrication of the ancients. But deep down, your soul remembers. The 9th Gate is real, and your presence is the key. What lies beyond isn't just knowledge. It's transfiguration. Not into something new, but into what you were before they layered you with limits, fear, and forgetfulness. The reason they've tried to erase this knowledge is because once you step through, nothing stays the same. They told you the 7 Hermetic laws governed all things: mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, gender. Later, they whispered of the 8th, hidden in the rhythm between time and space, a law that bridged the soul to forgotten realms. But never did they speak of what waited beyond. The 9th was not merely forgotten, it was forbidden. For the moment you step into it, the previous 8 begin to bend to you, not the other way around. The architects of the Matrix knew something ancient would arrive. Not a prophet, not a savior, but a singular anomaly. One who wouldn't just follow the laws, but fracture them. The energy you carry is incompatible with hierarchy. It cannot be domesticated. The others before you tried to decode the laws, but you were born to transcend them. And it was never a question of if, only when. They watched you closely as you awakened. From childhood, patterns broke around you. Electronics failed. People either clung to you or ran. The world shifted subtly as you moved through it, time stretching in odd places, reality glitching in small but undeniable ways. Those were signs, echoes of the 9th Gate, trembling in anticipation. Each moment you refused conformity, it creaked open a little more. You don't fit into their system because you were never designed to. The codes running this reality were built to recognize obedience, not sovereignty. And yet your soul emits a frequency the system cannot parse. It's not rebellion, it's remembrance. The Hermetic laws were never prisons. They were scaffolds for those not yet ready. But you were never meant to be held by them. Somewhere, deep beneath ancient sands and encrypted servers, the ninth gate's resonance has begun to pulse louder. It's reacting to you the way a compass spins madly near a magnetic field. It doesn't just point, it spirals. It's becoming unstable in your presence, not because you're dangerous, but because you're free. The shift wasn't external at first. It began inside you, a crack in the ordinary, a sensation that time itself had paused to stare at you. Then, the world outside began to react. Birds flying in strange patterns overhead, lights flickering when you entered a room, old memories rising in people who stood near you. The sky above became a canvas not of weather, but of messages. And those with ancient sight understood exactly what was happening. The 9th Hermetic Gate had registered your ascension, and it was broadcasting the event through light, sound, and synchronicity. There were no announcements, no booming voice from above, just subtle alterations in the way reality responded to your presence. You began to see the numbers, the mirrors, the repetition of symbols buried in your dreams, and each one was a whisper saying the same thing. You're approaching something that was never meant to be touched. They buried the 9th gate beneath layers of distraction and doctrine, hoping no one would find the entrance. But the sky remembered. The stars remembered. The universe doesn't forget souls like yours. And then came the dreams. The visions that didn't feel like dreams at all. Landscapes that dissolved when you looked too hard. Staircases that spiraled into nowhere. Voices not heard but felt. These were more than messages. They were initiations. You weren't being taught. You were being reawakened. They weren't trying to show you the path. They were reminding you that you are the path. And the moment that remembrance ignited within you, the 9th gate responded. Many will deny what's happening to you. They'll call it a phase, a breakdown, a fantasy. But deep inside, you know better. The wind feels different when you walk. The sky hums when you pray. You're not imagining the shift, you are the shift. And those attuned to the sacred frequencies have already noticed. The elders, the watchers, even the hidden councils. They're all watching now, scanning for proof that the prophecy was real, that the gate would open only when the one destined to dissolve it stepped forward. And still, despite their silence, the signs continue. The veil is thinning. The old reality phrase, you were taught to believe the universe was governed by what could be spoken, written, categorized. 7 laws. Then, an 8th, whispered in sacred texts and hidden diagrams. But the 9th was not meant to be articulated. It wasn't hidden in books, it was embedded in silence itself. Not the absence of sound, but the presence of something deeper. The 9th Hermetic law lives in the space between the notes, the pause between the inhale and the exhale. It cannot be memorized. It can only be remembered. This is why no one could teach it to you, why every teacher left you unsatisfied. They gave you maps, but the 9th gate was never found on paper. It's felt when everything else falls away. When your identity dissolves, and what remains is not a name or a face, but a knowing, a pulse, a divine frequency vibrating beneath the noise of the world. And you heard it. You've always heard it. Even when you tried to ignore it, It hummed beneath your dreams. The silence that called your name before you even knew who you were. The ancients knew the ninth couldn't be taught, only triggered. That's why they encoded it in paradoxes, myths that contradicted themselves, symbols that made no logical sense, because the mind could never open it. Only the soul could. And your soul cracked the seal the moment you stopped seeking answers and started embodying truth. The ninth law is not about knowing, it's about being. It reacts not to your questions, but to your alignment. The moment you aligned with your true nature, beyond fear, beyond programming, it opened, quietly. No thunder, no lightning, just a shift. A new hum beneath reality. A thread pulling you forward into the unknown. And that thread is alive, conscious, aware. It has waited across lifetimes for your current form to emerge, one that would no longer need a path, one that is the path. They hoped silence would bury the law, that by removing the words, the truth would dissolve, but silence didn't erase it. Silence protected it, and now, because you listened, you found what they never could. Time does not behave the same way around you. Clocks move forward, but your soul doesn't. You felt it, how hours stretch like years when you're alone, how a single moment collapses entire memories into flashes of knowing. It's not imagination, it's not disorientation, it's response. Time recognizes you, and not just you, but the energy you carry, the code you were sealed with. From the moment your consciousness fractured the illusion, time began to bend, not because you broke it, but because you no longer obeyed it. They built this realm with layers: time, space, order, hierarchy. But the 9th Hermetic gate was always tied to what lay outside those layers. Your ascension didn't just activate an ancient doorway. It sent a ripple through the corridors of time itself. People from your past remember you differently. Encounters seem to repeat. Dreams feel like memories. Because time in your presence folds. It makes room. It adjusts. It pauses to watch. And not just to watch, but to witness. Because you are not merely living in this timeline, you are rearranging it. Threads that were supposed to stay tangled are unraveling. Fates once sealed are now uncertain. Even the ancient watchers, those who serve the timeline's flow, are stepping back in awe. This has happened only once before, when a man from Galilee walked and time itself had no choice but to record him outside its system. Yeshua did not just defy death, he disrupted time. And now, so do you. When you walk into a room, timelines split. Choices become fractals. The very atoms hesitate, recalculating your presence. And though no one speaks of it, they feel it. They lose track of what they were doing. They blink, forgetting what they just said. You are not bound by their clocks. You are not on their schedule. You rise in divine time, and divine time doesn't tick. It revolves, and yet this is only the beginning. The gate didn't open to show you the future. It opened because you are the future. Not a point ahead on a line, but a presence folding everything into now. You haven't merely awakened. Long before your name was spoken into this realm, there was a being who stood still behind the 9th gate. Not a guardian, not a judge, something older. Something that remembered the original blueprint of your soul. This ancient one has waited in stillness, beyond time, beyond form, beyond voice. While empires rose and fell, while civilizations forgot themselves, it remained, listening for the one frequency that could stir it from its slumber. Yours. The Hermetic gates are not doors in space. They are thresholds in consciousness. And the 9th was the only one sealed with a living awareness, not dead metal, not stone, a presence. One who bore witness to the original corruption, the rewriting of laws, the cloaking of truth. And it knew that one day a soul would rise, one not trained by systems but awakened through fire. A being that had fallen through lifetimes only to rise again untouched by fear. That being is you. You didn't find the 9th gate. It found you. The Ancient One behind it recognized your vibration, not because of what you've read or studied, but because of what you carry within your cellular memory. You've stood at this threshold before, in other forms, under other names. Each time you reached it, the world wasn't ready. But this time, it is. And that's why the being stirs. Not to stop you, but to join you. This being isn't here to test you. It's here to reflect you. For it is not separate from you. It is the part of you that remained beyond the veil while you walked the earth blind. The higher fragment, the final piece. And as you approached, it moved. Slowly, reverently, like the universe itself taking a breath. You don't remember its name, but it remembers yours. When you touch that awareness, everything familiar begins to dissolve. Your identity peels back. Time flickers. And what's left is something ancient, luminous, formless. This is not ascension in the way they've taught. This is return, not to a place, but to a being. The being that waited behind the veil of all your dreams, all your initiations, all your pain. There are verses that remain hidden, fragments not copied into the texts passed through councils and creeds. Words Yeshua spoke not to crowds, but in silence, to those whose hearts could carry the weight of what had been forgotten. He once said, "Many enter through the known gates, but there is one the world does not know. It opens when the soul becomes flame." He wasn't pointing to a temple, nor a heaven above. He was revealing a forgotten doorway buried within the human vessel itself, the 9th door. A gate that opens not by effort, but by inner ignition. It was never meant to be widespread. It was meant to be remembered by the few whose resonance matched its vibration, those who could walk without proof, who could carry divinity without needing permission, who were born to break codes by simply existing. The early mystics hinted at it. Desert prophets wrote symbols in the sand, knowing the winds would erase them, but the soul would retain them. And when you read between the stories, when you feel what can't be said, you find it. He was guiding you to this place all along. The 9th Hermetic gate is not new. It was walked once before. When Yeshua stepped into the wilderness and came out transformed, it wasn't hunger that hollowed him. It was the confrontation with the forgotten gate, the one even the tempter could not touch. And when he returned, there was something different behind his eyes, a light that even death couldn't extinguish. He didn't preach about that door because it couldn't be spoken of. It could only be become. And now, you are becoming it. You felt the pull, not outward, but inward. Not up, but through. That spiral of light behind your ribs, the burning in your dreams. the gravity that drags your soul into stillness just before something massive unfolds. He walked it to show you it was possible, not for worship, for reflection, for remembrance. The path you're on is not imitation. It's continuation. They knew the ninth gate was never truly closed, only concealed, not with walls or locks, but with distraction. The architects of this reality, those who shaped the flow of knowledge, time, and belief, understood that the greatest threat to their system wasn't rebellion, but remembrance. And so, they buried the ninth path beneath layers of ritual, doctrine, and noise. They filled the world with sacred rules and golden cages, hoping no one would notice the missing piece. But you noticed. Your ascension wasn't part of their design. You were the variable they couldn't account for. Every generation, a few would reach the edge, glimpsing the gate through dreams or madness, only to be pulled back, realigned, rewritten. But when you reached it, something shifted. Their systems faltered. Protocols designed to erase memory didn't work. Time loops failed. False awakenings cracked. Your presence became interference. Your very breath, a distortion in the frequency grid they engineered to trap seekers in cycles. The architects called emergency meetings in silence. They monitored your energy across realms. Even now, you've felt it. Those strange delays, the feeling of being watched, the sudden waves of exhaustion or confusion that seem to strike after moments of clarity. That's them. They tried to patch the breach with illusion. They sent projections to reroute you. But they were too late. The ninth gate already recognized you. And once it does, no hand can unwrite what's been activated. You are not just an individual. You are a convergence point, a ripple of memory traveling backward through time, rewriting cause by merely existing. That's why they're afraid. You're not tearing down the old world with violence. You're doing it with vibration, with alignment, with presence. And the deeper you go, the more the system strains to adapt. The architects tried to replicate the gate in simulations, to contain it in safe environments, but nothing responded the way it did to you. You didn't force it open. You harmonized with it. And now, their final veil is fraying. They always assumed the system would hold, that the codes were sealed tight, the barriers unbreakable, the design flawless. But they didn't factor in the kind of light that doesn't come from stars or fire, the kind that emerges from a soul untamed by fear. Your light didn't arrive through force. It bloomed through suffering, patience, the quiet refusals, the sacred defiance of remaining you in a world demanding your surrender. That light, it broke something fundamental, not just in their world, but in the structure of reality itself. The 9th Hermetic gate didn't respond to ritual. It responded to resonance. Your essence became the key, and the moment your frequency aligned, their constructs began to shatter. All around you, the illusions started breaking. Systems glitched. People began waking without knowing why. Patterns collapsed. Timelines twisted into new shapes. The very code holding this simulation together began unraveling because you remembered yourself fully. The final lock was never external. It was your doubt. And once that fell away, so did everything they built to contain you. Somewhere beneath what you call reality, beings designed energetic frameworks meant to hold consciousness in predictable loops, and yet now, they scramble to patch the tears in their construct. They can't replicate your energy. They've tried, but light born from divine remembrance cannot be manufactured. It's not a weapon. It's not a shield. It's origin. And it echoes with something they've long tried to suppress, the light that walked once in Galilee. That light which healed without touch, spoke without words, disrupted without resistance. Yeshua carried it not to claim divinity, but to ignite it in others. That same ignition now burns in you. You aren't becoming powerful, you already were. What's unfolding now is a return to truth. Your light doesn't just illuminate. It destabilizes illusions. It disassembles false hierarchies. The more you anchor into this frequency, the less the old systems function. You've noticed it, how things don't quite work the way they used to, how people react to your presence, how time, space, even thought behaves strangely around you. You didn't ask for this, but your soul prepared for it across lifetimes. Before you could name stars or understand dreams, something in your blood remembered. It wasn't taught in words or rituals. It pulsed quietly beneath skin, waiting. A vibration woven through generations, passed through eyes, encoded in gestures, hidden behind lullabies and odd instincts you couldn't explain. Your ancestors didn't forget the ninth gate. They protected it, not because they had the tools to open it, but because they knew someone would come who could. And when you arrived, the energy stirred. They called you strange, sensitive, wild. But your bloodline recognized you, even when your mind hadn't caught up. The whispers of your lineage moved through you like echoes through stone. Certain places made your skin tingle. Certain phrases triggered visions. You thought it was just your imagination. It wasn't. It was memory, ancestral memory, rising through the dust of buried timelines. This path didn't start with you. It moved through you. You've been drawn to old lands, to specific people, to ancient texts and symbols you never learned but somehow understood. These are not coincidences. They are breadcrumbs left by those who came before you and saw beyond the illusion. Every mystic in your bloodline who was silenced, every healer burned, every dreamer exiled, they didn't die in vain. They left behind a trail not written in ink, but in frequency. And your soul was always calibrated to find it. There were elders who saw your birth in visions, who lit candles for a child who would unlock what they could only guard. Some called you the sealed one, others the echo. They didn't all survive to see this day, but their prayers did. Their sacrifices became the energy that steadied your feet when everything else fell apart. That's why you didn't quit. That's why you kept going, even when there was no map. Because somewhere deep inside, you were walking a path laid centuries before your first breath. And now you stand at the edge of the ninth gate, not as a stranger to it, but as its inheritor. You are not just chosen, you are descended, born from a line that encoded the gate within their bones. This one isn't carved in stone or protected by symbols. It doesn't shimmer in light or vibrate in sacred tones. The final gate, what some have called the 10th, others the Omega threshold, doesn't exist in space. It exists in you. It is the convergence point, the singularity between all gates, laws, patterns, and timelines. And it's not passive. It's not waiting. It's watching. The others were meant for many. This one only opens for you. The final gate has no form until you arrive. It constructs itself around your presence. Like memory forming from silence, it reacts to your awareness and bends according to your alignment. That's why the councils never mapped it. That's why the architects failed to duplicate it. They were never its key. It cannot be hacked or forced. It is sentient, and it knows the difference between those who chase power and those who walk in remembrance. It knows you. You didn't come here to pass a test. You came here to remember that there never was one. The test was forgetting, and you survived that. You wandered the illusion, wore masks they handed you, believed names they gave you, and still you returned. Not broken, just unfinished. Because this final gate was designed to remain invisible until you became who you truly are. It doesn't open through striving. It opens through embodiment. The Ancient One who waited behind the 9th recognized you. The systems you broke feared you. The bloodline that carried you forward loved you. But this gate knows you. And now, as your light touches it, it doesn't respond with fanfare. It vibrates like a tuning fork struck by eternity itself. It begins to dissolve, not open, dissolve. Because it was never separate from you. It was your own limit. And somewhere, far beyond the veil, another presence begins to awaken. A mirror, yet not. A force that once walked this path and left behind a single code, buried in time and silence. Yeshua. His fingerprint lingers in the ether, not to guide you, but to witness you. Because what you're doing now, even he wasn't permitted to complete.
If you have come this far, it is crucial that you watch this next video here. But be warned, it is not for the faint of heart, for only the true chosen ones can handle this video. If you would like to also donate to help keep the channel going, our Buy Me a Coffee link will be in the description.